returns, but they enhance their risk-adjusted returns. That means it makes their Sharpe ratio better. When you include Bitcoin in a larger portfolio, it enhances your Sharpe ratio. That blows their mind. And when they see that, something that everybody wants to own because of the upside optionality on them. And because of that volatility arbitrage you can play with delta hedging around it. And for your listeners who don't understand what I'm saying is that convertible bond traders, they'll buy a convert like that, then they'll
like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and enabling post notifications for more content on crypto and digital assets. Check out our other videos and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps with the YouTube algorithm and keeps the content coming. Thanks for your support. Enjoy the video.
A nice acceleration upward from, the mid 30s into the 60s. We had a great run there, and it just consolidated sideways all the way until the election. Why is that? There was so much uncertainty, Nico. We weren't sure which administration we were going to get. And the last administration was absolutely awful for cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. There's just no other way to put it. They were antagonistic. They were oppressive. They were unclear on regulatory rulings. The SEC would, instead of going through the proper legislative channels, they would instead they would prosecute and use that as kind of a rule of law and weapon. And it got banks scared to even hold Bitcoin, to do any business with Bitcoin companies and in the space. And so there was a lot of uncertainty. Operation Choke Point 2.0 was real. We'll talk about it. It's solid. It's really solid volume in here, which is creating quite a bit of support. And we like to liken it to a coiled spring. And that's where I believe we're at on Bitcoin. And there's a ton of tailwinds we can talk about. But that's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah, and so many good points there. So OG's selling, and what you said is the hard work of it, because as anyone who's been in the space for a while, like, hodling is easy conceptually. Like, if you describe hodling, it's such an easy thing, but it's a spiritual journey. It's an emotional journey. You really change, and seeing your net worth, fluctuate, 50, 60, 70% over
skyrocket, yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy what it does. So, for someone who has
process, which could take months or years, then it finally passes both houses of Congress and the Senate, and it ends up on the president's desk, which we would fully expect Trump to sign into law. But it's got to go through that process, and that could take a very long time. So what people were hoping, like you're saying, is that in one fell swoop, Trump could sign an executive order and be securing the Bitcoin that we have on the balance sheet and protecting it and possibly buying some more. The thing is, he wouldn't be able to buy as much. It's unclear how much he'd be able to buy and where they would actually hold it if he did it through executive order. And so people were disappointed about that. That's for sure. And that's why you're seeing some of this downward grind of price action in Bitcoin, since David Sachs had spoken last week, since Trump has been in office and has not announced.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree. I think, it was, at first, I believed it wasn't malicious. And then as time progressed, it became very apparent, and it almost kind of backfired on them a little bit, because I think Bitcoiners inherently were not into politics. But, from my perspective, I remember as soon as the Samurai wallet developers were arrested, in my show, I'm extremely neutral. All of a sudden, I was saying RFK 2024, Trump 2024. And then, of course, he was promising to free Ross. So I'm going to pass it on to David. And I agree with you, James, right? Because there's two ways to go about this. Trump could do it via executive order, but it doesn't have the longevity. All it takes is the next administration to just reverse his executive order. If a strategic Bitcoin reserve is to last in the United States, has to go through
returns, but they enhance their risk-adjusted returns. That means it makes their Sharpe ratio better. When you include Bitcoin in a larger portfolio, it enhances your Sharpe ratio. That blows their mind. And when they see that, they realize that this is an asset class they need to start allocating to. Now, we can go all the way up the top level and say, well, why is it important to have sound money like this? And sound money that's different than gold. Well, we've seen a lot of problems with the manipulation of gold, especially recently. You own gold in a vault in London, and even if it's held by the Bank of England, you may not be able to get access to that for months. And that's just insane. Bitcoin you get access to in 10 minutes. You have not only can you get access to it, but you can move it for a fraction of the cost. I mean, think about how much money it costs to move gold. Nothing against gold, but let's no way around that. And you now have a different structural adoption change, it's a sea change of adoption in the investment world of this new asset. It becomes something that will break from those models. I know that Michael Saylor likes to say all your models will be broken, really talking about hyper Bitcoinization. I don't think we even need that for it to break through some of these. So that's kind of, but the models are important. It helps us manage risk, and they're self-fulfilling prophecies. People closely watch these and monitor them, and they trade around them. So it gives us opportunity to move in and out of positions and risk management strategies while we watch those. So they are important, but in the end, I believe that Bitcoin's adoption starts eating into those other asset classes, and it goes from a 2 trillion asset, something that everybody wants to own, because of the upside optionality on them. And because of that volatility arbitrage you can play with delta hedging around it. And for your listeners who don't understand what I'm saying, is that convertible bond traders, they'll buy a convert like that, then they'll short a certain amount of stock. It's called the delta short, which is the optimal amount to short against it, because that convert can be converted into shares eventually. And so you trade around it, and you can buy and sell around it. And it's called delta trading and delta hedging, and you can make a lot of money doing that. So they kind of hit on a nirvana there, and they've continued to capitalize on it. But I fully agree with David, and this is why it became one of our core positions at the fund, is that this strategy is going to continue to build on itself, and we do believe that Michael and strategy will become the main financial center of Wall Street eventually, as Bitcoin takes hold and becomes that undeniable asset that everybody needs to own.
So when you say they're going to,
leads to another point, which is like Dave and I harp on this every single day. I mean, you're forced to go invest and take risk to battle against the devalue, the debasing of our currency, our U.S. dollar. You're forced to do that. And so you're kicking yourself because, oh my God, I missed a chance to get a little bit of ahead of this whole devaluing game. I can't just buy bonds. The dollar is being devalued at a rate that's going faster than you're going to get paid on those bonds, right? So you're getting a negative real yield. You have to go take risks somewhere. Anyways, that's why we're paid to do that, but because we do it every single day. This is what we do. And we analyze this stuff continuously.
Let's talk about what you guys do, because that was a perfect segue to the Bitcoin Opportunity Fund, investing in the Bitcoin space. You guys dedicate your time to this. This is what you guys do. What is the Bitcoin Opportunity Fund, and what's the pitch? So let's say you're an higher net worth individual, you're older, you're successful.
Bitcoin, and you want to augment that with something that is invested in this space and exposure to some of the companies and things that we're doing that you wouldn't otherwise get exposure to. Now, remember, just to give you some numbers, give hard numbers for people to understand. This last year we were up 65% net of all fees and everything. Okay, and we're up over 80%, 82% life to date, which is over just 5 quarters. and that's all net. But that does not include marks on privates. Okay, so when you hear some VCs, for instance, talk about their returns, their IRRs, they're by and large not real returns. Those are marks on companies that they may have made add-on investments or something like that, and they're just marking them up to where that next investment was made, from Series A to Series B or whatever it is. With ours, so there's no longer the worry from banks of holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. That'll open up all kinds of products and possibilities for major banks to play in this space, especially in Bitcoin. That's another one. You get the ETFs and you get the ETF options. That allows for institutions to manage volatility around holding Bitcoin. Really important. The ETFs have taken off, and the options on them are also getting pretty liquid, especially in the IBIT and FBTC ones. So that's important. Then you've got the Bitcoin Reserve that we talked about. You've got executive orders that are possible that we talked about. You've got the sovereign reserve that we talked about. So these are all things that are. I better own Bitcoin because that can't be controlled. That was new. And that was really important. And there's before the ETF. So this is, this was an important moment for Bitcoin. And I think it's kind of telling that if you have a bank crisis, or like David's saying, if you have a sovereign level debt crisis, where are you going to go? Where are you going to hide? Are you going to hide in gold? Again, it's likely paper gold that you're buying, and that's problematic. Or you may just not be able to get access to it. Do I think that gold will benefit from a crisis of the sovereign level? Of course. I mean, that would be, yeah.
One thing I just want to build on to James's point, Nico, too, on the same question topic. So when we were raising Fund 1 2 years ago, it was interesting to us how no family offices really, there was like maybe a handful of family offices that were taking, we'd get comments like, well, I thought Bitcoin.
I wanted to be in the space, and I wanted to continue doing what I was doing, which is investing. And I didn't want to go back to the regular hedge fund world. But when I saw the opportunity here and just the gaping hole for what we're offering, like there's nothing that I know of that's doing exactly what we're doing. I thought that it would be something that people would want to join in and do alongside with me. I've loved the people I've met in this space, and a lot of them are limited partners now with me, and we're having a blast doing it. I say that, but I truly, Nico, I wouldn't have done this if I hadn't met and trusted David so quickly. I met David through Larry Lepard. And, we're the two managers of the fund. We're the co-managing partners, and that we do all of it day to day. And I really, we play off well with each other because I come from an arbitrage,